Disclaimer, what's new? If the lighting in this video seems a bit off and it's more brighter on this side, that's because my laptop is right next to me that has all my notes on it, so apologies. I hope this lighting isn't like shit. Side note, today's case may be quite long. This is quite a graphic and gruesome true crime case. Today we're going to be talking about the Gruber family murders. This case is more commonly known as the Hinterkaifeck murders, though I can't pronounce that word right, so I'm just going to be naming this video the Gruber family murders. Around the time that these murders occurred, it was known as Hinterkaifeck because that is the location where it happened. Before I continue to talk, I just want to say I'm very sorry if I pronounce anything in German wrong. This case did occur in Germany between the Bavarian towns of Ingolstadt and Schrobenhausen. The case began with a Gruber family that consisted of Andreas Gruber, who was aged 63, along with Casilia Gruber, who was aged 72, and their widowed daughter, Victoria Gabriel, aged 35. Victoria was a mother of two. Her first child was called Joseph, who was aged 2 at the time, along with Casilia, who was aged 7. Victoria and her 2 kids lived in her parents' farmhouse. The family also had a maid called Maria, who was aged 44. So on the 4th of April 1922, a man called Albert Hoffner went to the family's farmhouse to repair the engine of the food chopper. Once there, Albert said that he did not see any of the family members, and the family's farm animals, along with their pet dog, were heard in the barn. Albert decided to wait 1 hour for anyone to show up, but no one did. Albert then decided to repair the food chopper, which took up to 5 hours. After Albert repaired the food chopper, he left the family's house and went into town and told a few number of people of the house's emptiness, and a man called Schlittenberg grew very worried about the family and wanted to know if they were okay, so he sent his son, who was named Johann, aged 16, and his stepson, who was aged 9, called Josef, to see if the family was okay. Schlittenberg at 3:30 had sent Josef and Johann to the Gruber family's home. Once at the house, Johann and Josef said that they did not see anyone. Later on that day, Schlittenberg, along with 2 men named Michael Pohl and Jacob Siegel, went to the family's house, and they could not see anyone, and then they went to the family's barn, where they found something truly disturbing. Once the 3 men entered the barn, they found the bodies of Andreas Gruber, his wife Casilia, along with Victoria Gabriel and Victoria's daughter Casilia, murdered in the barn. Shortly after this gruesome discovery, the maid Maria and the youngest family member Joseph, who was just aged 2 at the time, were both found murdered in the house. It appeared that Victoria and her 7-year-old daughter Casilia, along with Victoria's parents, were all lured into the barn, through the stable, and then murdered one at a time. The killer's weapon of choice was a mattock. The Gruber family suffered blows to the head. Weirdly enough, the weapon of choice, the mattock, belonged to the Gruber family. The killer or killers then went into the house to kill 2-year-old Joseph, who was asleep, and then went on into Maria's bedroom to kill her. The Munich Police Department investigated these murders. Here's the creepiest part. In fact, I don't think I've ever come across a case as creepy as this. What's creepy is that days after the murders occurred, the house was kept clean. The farm animals were well cared for, not to mention that some food in the family home was being cooked and smoke was coming out of the house's chimney, which implies that a couple of days after the murders occurred, the killer or killers had been living in the Gruber family home, feeding the animals, cooking some food. Even a large amount of bread was taken. One day after the discovery of the bodies, a court physician did autopsies on the body in the barn. From this, the physician did say that the mattock was most likely the weapon used. Less than a year after the murders, the entire family barn and house was demolished and revealed that a penknife was in the hay in the barn, and the mattock weapon was found hidden in the attic. Evidence shows that Victoria's 7-year-old daughter, Casilia, had been alive 7 hours after the attack. She had ripped her own hair out while lying in the straw. Why she did this is unclear. A possibility to me is that she saw one of her family members getting attacked by the killer or killers, and she lost it and started whipping her hair out. That's a traumatic event, so that's what I assumed happened, though I can't confirm it. On Saturday the 8th of April, the family was buried in Wadehoven Cemetery. At first, police believed it was a robbery, though a large amount of money was left in the home and was not touched. To investigators at the time, it was clear that the attacker had stayed in the home for 7 days after the murders occurred. After the family's murders, like I said before, the neighbours reported smelling food being cooked and smoke coming from the chimney, not to mention that there was light coming from the family's home, most likely a candle being lit. A lot of people were questioned by police, though no one has ever been arrested or convicted of the crime. They've actually never been caught. The last interrogation in regards to the case happened in 1986. More than 100 suspects were questioned and fingerprints sadly were not secured at the time. Investigators believe that Victoria was the first to be murdered, followed by her parents and then her daughter Casvillia. Along with the maid, investigators at the time did believe that Joseph was actually the last to be killed, not the maid, though no one can actually confirm that. Recently, before the family's murders, the dad of the household, Andreas, expressed his worries about people being in his roof, like he heard noises coming from his roof in the house, and he expressed his concerns to his neighbours. There was evidence of shifted roof tiles and hollows in the hay. 3 days before the bodies were discovered on the night of the crime, a craftsman, Michael Plockle, happened to pass by the family's home and saw that someone had heated up the oven. As if this case couldn't get any more effed up, during the investigation, obviously the house was searched and there was a foul, disgusting smell coming from the fireplace. When Michael saw that someone had heated up the oven in the house and smoke was coming out of the chimney, a man with a lantern approached him and blinded him. Michael did not see the face of the man. This incident that Michael experienced was never investigated, nor was the disgusting smell of the fireplace. We can all gather what it was, can't we? You know, maybe it was burning flesh. I said it, you were thinking it. When the police questioned people who knew the family, they came across the butcher and farmer named Simon, who at 3 a.m. on the 1st of April was on his way home from Brunner. And creepy AF, he ended up seeing 2 dark unknown figures standing at the edge of the forest, just doing nothing, just standing there. When these 2 unknown strangers saw Simon, they turned around so that Simon could not see their face. Later on, Simon heard agonising screams as if someone was being murdered. Upon hearing this awful scream, Simon initially thought that maybe 2 strangers were involved, like the strangers he saw earlier on, just standing at the forest. Though Simon didn't call the police when he heard these agonising screams. Why he didn't call the police, no idea. Remember the guy I mentioned before, Albert Hoffner? When he was doing his repairs on the food chopper at the family's home and didn't see any of the family members, he noticed that the house doors all had been locked. He heard the dogs barking in the barn. By the way, I'm not sure if the family had 1 or 2, I suspect it's 2. But then at the end of his repair, he looked to the barn and saw one of the dogs tied up outside of the barn, and the barn door was open. However, when the 3 men, meaning Johann and Josef and Schlittenberg, initially found the family's bodies, they noted that the barn door was closed again, and the dog was inside the barn now. That is beyond creepy. The guy's just going to fix the food chopper. He doesn't see the family about, but the dog's inside of the barn. Fast forward 5 hours, oh, the dog's outside the barn tied up, meaning the killer or killers were in the house. Before we get into the suspects, I'm going to go through a few odd details that occurred before the family was murdered. On the 3rd of April, on a Monday, the postman was delivering the mail to the family's home. He noticed that Saturday's mail was untouched and left exactly where he had put it. After the murders occurred, which was on the 31st of March 1922 on a Friday, the bodies were found 4 days later. On the day that the family was murdered, the new maid Maria had arrived at the family's home with her sister who had escorted her there, meaning that this was Maria's first day on the job and she was just murdered. That is a shitty way to start a new job. Once Maria and her sister arrived at the Gruber family home, Maria's sister left her and just went about her day. Maria's sister was the last person to see Maria and any of the Gruber family members alive. 6 months before the family's murders, the old maid quit. Supposedly the old maid quit because she heard sounds coming from in the attic. She thought that it was ghosts or demons, so she's like, yeah, I'm not working in some demonic house, bye. I'm sorry for laughing. I just find it funny that that's her first initial thought, the old maid. She's like, I've been working here a while and I'm getting quite unnerved. There's some noises coming from the attic. Is it a demon? The old maid believed the house was haunted. Also in March, Andreas Gruber found a strange newspaper from Munich on his property. What's strange about this newspaper is that Andreas didn't remember buying a Munich newspaper. He assumed it belonged to the postman who had just dropped it. None of the family members or the maid were ever a fan of that particular newspaper and never bought the Munich newspaper. Also, days before the murders, Andreas told his neighbours that he discovered tracks in the snow that led from the forest to a broken door lock in the farm's machine room, and the footsteps never left the family's property. I'd say that's a red flag. Also during this time, some of the family's house keys went missing. These small details went unreported to the police and Andreas refused any help. Also extremely creepy, during the night, the family would hear footsteps in the attic and Andreas would check the attic, yet found no one in there. On another occasion, the family saw a man with a moustache standing at the forest's edge, just staring at the Gruber family and their house, like that other creepy ass man we mentioned before. Clearly there's multiple people involved here. I don't know about you, but if I was a member of this family and I saw creepy ass tracks leading to my house, heard sounds in the attic, not to mention my keys are missing, I'm seeing weird newspapers, so I would accept help and move out. I don't know what this family was doing. The smartest person in this entire case, even though she thinks it's a demon, is the old maid. She hears some creepy noises and is like, yep, I'm out. Done. If I heard some noises, I'd assume someone's broken in my house. It could be so logical. It could be, maybe a window's open and it's causing a door slam. I don't care. I'm not going to go and investigate for logic. If I'm trying to sleep and I hear a loud ass bang or a creepy noise, I'm gone. I'm not here for that. I can't be serious today. I don't know what this mood is, but I can't be serious. This is a serious case. Anyway, I'm going to get into the suspects. So the very first suspect at hand was the guy I mentioned before, Lorenz Schlittenbach, was believed to have had a relationship with Victoria Gruber. When the Gruber family's bodies were discovered, all the doors to the house were locked, and weirdly enough, Schlittenbach's friend had to literally break a gate to enter the barn. When the bodies were found, Schlittenbach had a key, which unlocked the front door, and Schlittenbach entered the house alone. In the days leading up to the family's murders, some house keys went missing. Now, it is possible that if Schlittenbach was Victoria's lover, she very well could have given him a pair of house keys. It is known that Schlittenbach disturbed the bodies when he entered the house. He stated to police that he went into the house to look for his son, Josef, who he had sent to the house earlier before. Schlittenbach just seemed to know things that only the killer would know. The next two suspects are the Gump brothers. In April 1922, it was rumoured that Adolf Gump was also in a relationship with Victoria, though there's no evidence to prove this claim. Adolf's brother Anton Gump was investigated in relation to the family's murders. The Gump's sister, named Crescentina, on her deathbed claimed that her brothers had committed the murders. Adolf died in 1944 and there was actually no proof of him participating in the family's murders. The last suspects were the Bitchel brothers along with George Sigel. I can't say his second name. These suspects have also been put into a theory, and the old maid who actually quit before the family's murders was called Krezena Rigger, who worked from November 1920 to September 1921 on the family's property. She suspected the brothers Anton and Karl Bichler. It sounds like I'm saying bitch, but the old maid suspected the brothers of the murders. Turns out that Anton had actually helped with the potato harvest on the family's farm, and he knew the area well. The old maid Krasena said that on numerous occasions Anton had talked to her about the Gabriel and Gruber family. Anton suggested that the Gruber family and the Gabriel family could be dead, and the old maid Krasena said that the family's farm dogs who barked at everyone never barked at Anton. Not to mention that the old maid Krasena also reported speaking to a stranger through her bedroom window at night. She believed it was Anton's brother Karl. She thought that the brothers had committed the murders with George Sigel, who had actually worked on the farm, and George knew the family's fortune. Supposedly, George had actually broken into the family's home in November 1920 and stole many items. George denied this, though he did admit to carving a handle of the murder weapon when he was working on the family's property. George was aware that the murder weapon mattock would have been kept in the barn passage, so he knew where the murder weapon was. He admitted to carving the handle of the murder weapon and also worked on the Gruber family's farm. So yeah, that is the unsolved and really, really creepy case of the Gruber family murders. I hope you found this video interesting in response to this entire video. It's supposed to be very Halloweeny, but I don't really have room to put up LED lights and whatnot. I feel like I have to apologise since I don't own a mic, but I am planning to get one very soon. People on my street, half of them are insane and decide to cut their garden bushes and grasses 4 times a week. So if you're in the future, if you hear a really loud humming noise and it's driving you insane, same, it's driving me insane. Just saying. Anyway, I'm going to shut up, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you with another creepy video. Take care. Bye.